quick shout out to my boy Michael Narlino too, man, because I saw him a little while ago, man. I could, you know, I'm like, man, you know, like, hey, you know, bro, I'm here, man. I love you, man. You know, I'm just letting you know, bro. You know, I'm always here. I told him anytime you need me, man, just let me know, bro, for real. Because I, you know, I could see that, you know, he's just, you could tell when someone's feeling something, man. You know what I'm saying? So I was just like, bro, from my heart to yours, man, for real, you know. I wanted to hug him, but I was like, I don't know, you know, whole coronavirus stuff. I mean, I still hug my boys, but you know how it goes, man. I just, you know, I didn't want anybody in the street freaking out, and I didn't even know if he was on that page. So anyway, yeah, man. Okay. So what's going on, bro?
Bro, episode 4 of the Grown Man Cipher.
Word.
Yeah, so we're going into some awareness of differences in social situations.
Indeed.
You know, sometimes when you got to approach people that maybe see things differently than you do, things that are just kind of uncomfortable maybe even.
Man. So. Hey, look, and we want to give a special shout out to my boy Tom Slavic, man, because without you, we wouldn't even had this topic. And the thing about it is your comment was like, it was just so on point. And Luke, you know, just the master of ideas, he was like, man, why don't we make it into a show? I was like, dude, totally. And it's relatable. And that's the whole point, you know, is like, we're just relating because we're two relatable dudes who live in the same lives as most of the people watching this. So we just figured now more than ever, this topic would be just, it was just too good not for us to cover it, man.
Yeah, so thanks for shouting that out in the comments, because it's really cool to have that interaction, because that was like really the first kind of input we got from somebody who wanted about an episode. So
yeah, and
it's exciting to get that engagement. You know?
It is, dude. I mean,
it's cool.
Yeah, and Tom, man, you know, he's another cat, man, just mad cool. But look, man, I wanna give a special heartfelt shout to my man Michael Nerlino, man. I saw you today, bro, you know, and look, bro, you know, like I told you then, and I'm telling you again, bro, from my heart to yours, bro, you know, I'm always here for you, and I love you, bro, so I'm always here, man. So, and that goes for any of my other boys, Luke included. I mean, I love this guy, man. He's a gem of a friend. That's the thing. If you got friends, especially now, man, let them know that you love them and appreciate them. You know what I'm saying? Give them their roses now. So
yeah, keep those good ones close.
Indeed, man. Let's just get into this, man. You know what I'm saying? I mean, bro, it was just the comment about, you know, just dealing with, you know, and living with so many things, differences being one of them, you know, and it's something that we can take and basically meld into a positive, like anything else we deal with in life, right? And I think that's really being an adult, is how well you parlay something into a positive or an opportunity for growth, because that's what, you know, anymore it's about as we move along on this thing called life anyway. I love the point you made though, bro, about just about, you know, how you can look at someone in a certain situation, you know, devoid of emotions, you know, just staring at a person and being a mirror for them so they can kind of, you know, look at whatever may be going on with themselves. What do you think about that?
Yeah, and I think I think everybody kind of knows what that really means, because you look at somebody and you say, well, I'm not saying anything to you right now, but body language is a huge thing. And a lot of times that can like end the conversation before it starts. So, man. But you got to have that awareness in that moment, because sometimes, I mean, a lot of those situations, you know, you're not ready for them, right? You're just going about, and then this unpleasant thing kind of happens. And so, but pretty much it's not void completely of emotion, but it's that balance of not being defenseless, but at the same time not aggressive. You're pretty much looking at someone as a mirror, and you're reflecting exactly how they are at that moment. You know what I mean?
Dude, you just said something that made me think of this evidence line. He says, I end this situation by not starting.
Yeah,
right?
No doubt.
I was just like, I mean, and that's the thing, again, ever important. You know what I'm saying? As we, again, along this journey of life, and as men, the journey of manhood, these are the type of lessons that are gems that we take with us, we employ as much as possible in all scenarios and situations, be it with your loved ones, you know, in business, on the street, you know, even in interacting, you know, in situations where you may be completely, you know, out of your comfort zone. You know, you have to employ these tools, because these are the things that are gonna help you continue to grow and become better. Yeah, that's what we always say, man. But yeah, man, I love that.
Yeah, because you can't control people. You can't control people the way they're going to react to you.
Dude.
Just what they're going to do. You don't know where everybody's at each and every day. So Yeah, you gotta be ready to steer and, get around those situations as best as possible.
Facts, man. I mean, and then the thing, it's just so much that could be drawn from that point you made about as far as the whole, being a mirror to someone else. Because look at it, it's like you don't want to contribute. Again, it's something I talk about a lot of times, and I have to remember to employ myself as well. You don't want to contribute to that negativity. If it's already a situation where things are going in a direction that's not good, someone's got to be the voice of reason.
Mm-hmm.
In a situation like that, sometimes the best answer is no answer. Mm-hmm. So, and that gives you a second to pause, gives you a second to, kind of give the other person, a chance to kind of look at, it's almost like you hit the pause button on the entire situation. And then a person's able to, even if it's just instantly reflect, right?
And dude, that's all it takes is someone comes at you kind of crazy. If you can just pause for a second and just kind of look at them like, it's not like saying excuse me necessarily, but it's just like, and then people are like, whoa, like, because some people are looking for that negative interaction, right? They're baiting you. They're trying to get you to bite so that, because, people are unhappy, misery loves company.
Facts,
and people are going to be trying to do that to you throughout the day. And if you don't bite, people are going to feel like, man, it's kind of embarrassing, right?
Exactly.
You act a fool and then somebody else bites and then you get into an argument, then it's two people doing something.
And then who wins?
Nobody wins. Two people are upset. Maybe that one person that started it wins because they love being unhappy.
But I mean, even the idea of them win is
it's not a win. That's not a win.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, man, it's just, I can't overstress the idea of employing things like this in a time like this where there are just differences they're abundant. And the situation is just, it's funny. I look at a lot of things going on today and again, man, kindergarten, man, whatever happened to stuff like live and let live. Whatever happened to the idea of the fact that maybe people are just different. It doesn't necessarily, I think we have a tendency, like I was saying a little while ago, like your biases and your emotions, and you kind of, it's all like this, this really, horrible stew that people make, right? And then you got this big bowl of horribleness, that no one wants, it's just, but this is like everybody's got their own kind of like bowl of stuff when it comes to being negative, but
everybody's got what they say, everybody's got an opinion,
Bro, everybody's got opinions, biases, prejudice, all that. I mean, we all have, but it's like you said a little while ago, bro, perfect point. You look at someone and it kind of shows you who and how you are. Like, check it out, man. One of the things I've always tried to do is whenever I see someone, and we've discussed this before, whenever I see someone that has a personality trait that's positive, that maybe I could do, that I could stand to basically adopt, in my cadre of being me. Patience has always been one, right? I'm like, man, that person is so patient. I would like to try and be more like that. You appreciate the person first, but then again, you try and take that and you figure, how can I employ that into my life? But the same can be said for differences. It's a situation where you take the pause, and then you see what the dynamic is when dealing with a difference, and for example, or just encountering a difference in some way, shape, form, fashion. It doesn't always have to be a negative thing. It's something, okay, how can I learn from this, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, you look at stuff like that and you figure, how can, let's say, dependent upon what the context may be, like I said, with patience. Because patience is a difference too. Someone's like, I want things now. Someone else is like, well, but take a second to stop and think, maybe if you had waited, if you learned to be a little more patient, you could get things to be even more like you like, because people generally are going to respond better to, a more positive approach. And patience is, for the most part, patience is always a good thing. I can't think of a time when patience is not a good thing.
No,
I don't think.
No, because you think about, if you're going to be the bigger person in a situation, you got to have patience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because, just the saying, being a bigger person in a situation means that you're dealing with a tough situation where you could potentially just be just as upset as the person that's upset at you, right? But you got to be the bigger person because, like you said, like nobody's going to get a win from that argument. You know what I mean? Like,
nah. Nope. And then again, it's like, and even negative situations, you're like, okay, maybe I could have done this better. But again, how can I grow, learn, change, become better from this? And again, like I was saying before I started off on this tangent, it's like you see a positive personality trait that someone has, and you're like, you know what? I would like to be more like that. So then you sit back and you employ a plan on how to be that way. But you have to, in order to do that though, you have to leave the door open for differences, right?
Yeah.
If you're more of like a doxastic type of thinking, or you're functioning more that way, where your thought paradigm, doesn't allow anything in or out that doesn't agree with what you've previously accepted, that's going to be it's going to stunt your growth, basically. Yeah. So
no doubt. Yeah. I was listening to Alan Watts once, he's a philosopher, prominent like in the 60s and stuff like that. But he was saying, I'm just an entertainer. I'm not your guru. I'm not this. I'm just an entertainer. He's like, so I welcome anybody with different points of views to walk through that door. And maybe if you don't agree with me or you don't have the same viewpoint on something, it's simply like hanging it up like a coat or setting it down like a briefcase for the hour that we're going to sit here and have a conversation. And then as soon as we leave, you can pick your beliefs back up, put it back on your, he's like, we're just having a conversation, it's entertainment. And I think that when you have something that's like for me, like faith-based, the word faith to me means even more than belief, because faith is like believing in something that you can't necessarily see or wrap your mind around.
Indeed.
And I think that, as humans, we're constantly trying to understand the meaning of life, like what's
everything,
going on, right?
Man.
So
everything,
right? So we can draw some conclusions and we can find little things that maybe help us out, but really we don't know what's going on. So like belief in something can be constantly changing if it's something visual or something that we hold on to. So I think, just having that faith behind things, and in that, if you have faith and it's strong in something and you're talking to someone that has a different viewpoint, because man, I've been in that situation, just growing up and being around people that are, either quote unquote religious or, practicing, something.
Even agnostic or atheist.
Yeah. Like, I noticed conversations, some people will get, like, if it goes against, like, what they believe, it's like they don't even want it to go in their ears.
That's that doxastic type of behavior.
Yeah.
And
I can understand. You maybe don't want to have conversations. You got to choose your battles. Maybe you're like, I don't want to have this conversation with this person.
Right.
But at the same time, if it's simply the fact that you can't take in other viewpoints or different perspectives, from a conversation, just a daily conversation, even something that's like, I even want to talk to this person. It's a friend of mine, but I don't agree with what they're saying.
Right.
And you know what? I'm doing this. Like, I'm not even, because I've been told this. And I think a lot of times what that is like, I think maybe people will have to look at what they really believe in or what they have faith in.
Man,
and maybe
I was about to say that exact
it's not
thing.
as strong as what they is, because they're getting,
you know what I'm saying?
They're like, I'm going to listen to your ideas. Oh man, you know what? Some of those ideas sounded really good, and now I'm questioning what my core beliefs I thought were.
But bro, okay,
you know what I mean?
Two things. The first thing I was going to say is like, okay, what do you, if your foundation's shaky, and that's okay, it's okay,
bro.
But
it's life.
Don't take it defensive. It's like,
yeah.
But don't be worried, and defensive if something's going to shake your foundation. Use it as an opportunity to grow. It's just like, and why would we not want to do something that's going to help us grow? It's like, you can't be afraid of something shaking your foundation, because what it's going to do is make you better. And even still, it could strengthen you in the faith that you do have. Bro, I've dealt with things before where there were things in my belief that people had brought up to me that I didn't know. And when I was young in my beliefs and in my faith, I was like, inside you're like, you kind of get that feeling. But then you know what? Another opportunity, a situation where patience came into play.
This is growing pains for your patience, right?
But you know what I learned to employ though was patience in the regard of, I'm not too sure, but since you've raised that, let me look and see, because I don't know. I mean, and that's the funny thing too, dude. People think like, with beliefs and differences and stuff. Okay, belief being one difference. You don't and you won't know everything about what you believe. And it's even funny for someone who doesn't agree with you or believe with you, or what you believe. They're looking at you like, oh, gotcha. It's like, well, and that goes to your point. It's like, okay, but it's faith though, right? So we're I always say it's like apples and onions. Not that you're right or that they're right. It's just two different ways of looking at the same thing. again, differences, right? But how well do we function and deal with that? What are you gonna say, bro?
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, a lot of times when you get into some of those conversations too, you realize that someone might have had some post-traumatic stress, maybe the way they were raised, you know, kind of being force-fed some ideology or being told something. And, you know, it's just a natural human instinct to, like, when you're being forced to or told to do something, it's natural to kind of pull back.
Facts, bro.
You know what I mean? So
yeah.
But you know, that doesn't mean that sometimes maybe in those situations there was still some truth to be gleaned. It was the person that was bringing it to you, you know, was a human and was making some human errors in communication, you know. Or
you can always pull a gem from almost anything. What is it? I mean, bro, kindergarten and old school wisdom.
That's a gem right there. Bro, pulling a gem from everything is a gem, man.
Exactly. But look, bro, like what you're saying, a fool, you can learn from a fool, right? You can always pull a gem from something, bro. And if your mindset, you know, and your perspective, you know, and just your way of approaching it, all right, dude, when you bring yourself to situations that way, the sky's the limit as far as what you can do with it, as far as bettering yourself and even others around you. Yeah. And on top of that, you can actually be, once you embody that and learn that, you live it. And then you're modeling that for other people. Yeah. And that's what it's about, bro. It's about, you know, being positive, you know what I'm saying? And just trying to grow, man, and just trying to basically put that out there with others. It's just like what we're doing, bro. You know? So anyway, what are you going to say, bro?
And two, once you get used to that, you know, and you own that, and you just get used to doing that over and over, it's just like any muscle in your body that you train.
Bro. Facts.
So it's like those situations are just going to, because, man, those things can overwhelm us, right? Like you have a coworker.
Oh, goodness, bro.
You know, sometimes like, the worst for me is when you can't even put a finger on it completely, but there's something that just bugs so bad.
Oh my goodness.
You know what I'm saying? I know people understand that, you know what I mean? Where you just like, you're trying to explain it to people and people can't fully get it because they're not a fly on the wall. They're not there. They're not watching it.
No doubt.
And you're like, no, I'm telling you, you know what I mean? And then,
dude,
you know,
it's so, I mean, again, man, it's just one of those many things that we go through in the human experience, man, dealing with differences, difficult people, and even a situation, you know, where someone might not necessarily, like you said, because they're not there, but at some point in their life, they could totally relate to what you're saying because they've dealt with it before. Yeah. It's like, you know, as people say, vibes and stuff like that, but you know, the vibe, the energy, it's totally relatable and it's totally something that you know, but yeah, a lot of times, stripping back the layers to get to what that very thing may be, right? It made me think of a point you made earlier about the whole situation is, you know, and it can go either way. You may not care much about a person, you know, because of something in them that you see something in them that you see in yourself that you might not like. And then it's, you know, it makes you self-conscious or it makes you kind of want to, not necessarily.
I think that's a Freud quote. I don't read a lot of Freud, but I think that's where I heard it was something like where
truth is truth,
if you don't like something about somebody else, it's, because it reminds you of something that you don't like about yourself, something like that. Yeah.
Man, I mean, again, man, there's definitely truth to be gleaned from that, man. And again, it's relatable and it's real. I mean, we've been there before. I mean, look at what family. Right? Look at what family. I mean, let's just say a father and a son, you know. One of the most interesting dynamics as far as growing up. And I speak from that because I got a 22, you know, almost 22-year-old son. You know, I love my son with all my heart, man. You know, I raised him since he was a baby, the whole 9 yards. But now he's a young man and he's a man. I respect him as such. But me being 45, you know, and him being almost 22, we don't always see eye to eye. But, I mean, you know, he's my heart. But, you know, even within that dynamic, you know, and the same with me and my father, it can be a really beautiful dynamic, or it can be one that can be absolutely tumultuous because you have situations where the father and the son can see something, they can see each other in themselves, and then that automatically can become a source of conflict or even violence in some cases. I mean, and I can tell you, I never got in a fight with my dad, and me and my son never fought. But I got plenty of friends who fought their dad. But I'm just saying that's an example. They see that in themselves. And then so much emotion because they're family and so much other things factored into that, man. It just, you know, it's like a powder keg, man. Oh, bro. Can be.
Seriously, yeah. I mean, you spend that much time, you know, you grow up around someone knows everything about you. You've seen them, you know, like you've seen somebody at their best and worst, you know.
Yeah, bro, and I think you just made a good point. Someone knows everything about you know, because it's like the beef starts and remember the time you this? It's like, bro, you know.
You get mad that someone even knows that much about you because they could use it against you. Why are you bringing up old stuff?
It's so crazy, dude. I know. And it's just like, that make me think of something else, bro. Like in adulthood, we're supposed to be so like, over things like that. But man, something I tell my daughter all the time is, I say, buddy, you think kids act bad. Where do you see how grown-ups act? I tell her that all the time. I said, buddy, watch.
I know.
Right?
I tell my daughter the same thing. I'm like, you know what? There's some grown-ups that have not figured out what you have already figured out in your 7.5 years.
Bro, look.
My daughter, that's what I tell her. I'm like,
bro,
seriously.
Look, right now, we're talking about differences. As grown-ups, we're supposed to be beyond a lot of things like recognizing it and being able to, just go with the flow regarding differences. Right? You look at what's going on in the world right now. Not quite.
Yeah.
So then, dude, like I said, man, I like to use examples of like our children because we learn so much from them. We learn so much on how to be.
Dude, it's like a mirror, right?
Yeah,
it's
bro.
like the mirror. Your kid's like the mirror for you,
Oh my god.
Because they're just like, because they're trying to figure you out at the same time, So I mean, it's like the most genuine look sometimes,
Oh my goodness, dude. Bro, oh my goodness. It's just so crazy with this kind of stuff. When you look at it, life never ceases to amaze me, man. It never ceases to amaze me, be it positive or negative, because I sit back, and you look at and you think about things objectively, and you can't help but, be amazed in a lot of regards, right? You just can't. I mean, you can't help, at least I can't help it. I've always been like that. I mean, not that I'm perfect. There's a lot of things about me I need to change or that I can do better as well, but I try to at least be cognizant of myself and others in the world and my relation to it. And again, a huge part of it is differences. Yeah. We have to know. I remember, man, it's so funny how the simplest lessons sometimes are the ones that go right over your head. Check it out, man. Back, I think in like 02, 03, I was dating this girl. And we were having a disagreement repeatedly, and I'm sitting there like, man, I don't know about this. And, I'm thinking, beefing and stuff. And then at some point, I don't know what happened, but I just recognized that we were just different. I was like, oh, she really thinks this. And I'm like, I was totally making this into like Mount Everest. And also too, here's another thing about differences. We look at stuff and we process it our way. And then we're like, you're thinking this person has malicious intent behind what they're saying, or this person is saying, when sometimes they're just saying what they know.
Yeah.
Well, this is how I was raised. And then I don't like that though. So automatically your bias and emotion comes out, and then you've created a situation when it was just a difference. We had a difference. And I was just like, oh, what are you going to say, bro?
I was just going to say, man, for different people, I think that can be, it can be kind of a different learning curve. Cause like for me, I had sisters, but I didn't grow up with them. They were growing up in the Philippines or Japan and stuff. So I was growing up like an only child. Right. So when I would have interactions like with my friends, they go to their house, I go to my house. You don't really, like if you grow up with siblings, right, you have those same conflicts, but then you're living in the same house. So eventually you have to get over them. And then, the dust settles. But I think for me being an only kid, I guess the dust would settle, but it was more just kind of like you're away from each other. You didn't really work on it as you would with your siblings, having to be around them all the time. So it was just more like time helped you forget.
Nope,
so like you don't work through those difficult situations. So I think if you grew up with siblings, you definitely maybe have a little bit up on it. Maybe.
Bro, I'm saying your point is correct, but then it's also something that's going to vary from the individual as well. It makes me think of another line by Evidence. He says in one track, he says, "I shared pretty good for an only child." You know what I'm saying?
Oh, that's
so
dope.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Man, he said that. I was like, that was dope, man. No, I know you can't, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. I mean, maybe for an only child, you might share good, but you might have another, deal that you are kind of like dealing with. But nonetheless, man. Yeah, differences in any context, man, regardless of whether we've got 6 siblings or none, right? It's really about how we parlay that into the world, just being aware, like you said, of that.
I think we were saying too about getting the gems, right? Because
Facts.
If everybody was the same as you, right? Like you sharpen a knife on a different surface than a knife.
Indeed.
Right? You don't sharpen a knife on a knife, you sharpen it on like a coarse kind of thing that's meant for sharpening knives, right? So when you're talking about interactions like with, loved ones like your dad or someone like that, where you guys are obviously tight, but you're gonna, each other, you have that history. So obviously the potential to have those kind of conversations is there too. But if you're looking at that, and this goes back to kind of our perspective talk, the perspective of that is like, that's an opportunity to grow, but it's also seeing other people's differences, especially in those like high intense situations, maybe where you're arguing, is actually showing you so clearly and shouting to you who you are.
Facts, bro.
It's like, okay, this person, we're having an argument because this person thinks this and I think this. I didn't realize I was so passionate about this because I never got into an argument with it about somebody. But I realized that I'm actually really passionate. So you actually learn something about yourself because, that's how it is. You gotta,
One would hope that you would learn, because and again, it depends on the individual, but point well made. Completely agree.
Plus, bro, you're rolling with your crew of friends, right? You got, a lot of times you have one friend that's kind of like the funnier one, right? You got the one that's a little bit smoother with the ladies.
Facts.
And you maybe have the one that's like the best skater. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like everybody's kind of got this
the dude who's always trying to start crap, like, bro, cool out, man.
Oh, yeah, dude. I know I've had friends like that throughout my life.
But look, to stand to your point, though, even though that's the case and we're different, we still all got all kind of love for each other.
Yeah. Plus, it's like you highlight each other. Like you look at like a sports team, right? Like a winning team. You know what I mean? Like the Bulls. The Lakers. The teams they've had in the past when they're winning. And you look at all that, like, and you look at if they were all the same player, they wouldn't have the same dynamic. So it's like. So when someone's actually different, it's actually like, you know what? But that's what makes you special because you're different in that way, in a sense. So
it's almost like a yin and a yang type thing, man. It's like you come.
It's really that simple,
bro. You come together and it's something wonderful. But the world is the same way, If I joke around all the time, like I wouldn't want to live in a world of a bunch of me. I like me, I love me, but. Sometimes I need a break from me, you know what I'm saying? If I had a bunch of people, technocrats and detail-oriented, I'd be like, man, goodness, this dude, but he'd be like, you too. I'd be like, So, yeah, man, to me, differences are what, it's what makes us who we are. It's what makes us human. And it's definitely something to be appreciated and celebrated. And at the very least, I don't know if tolerated is the word, but we have to understand that we have to leave. Again, like I said earlier, you got to leave the door open for that.
Yeah, because as much as something might annoy you, guaranteed there's something about you that drives somebody else crazy.
I was just about to say that, bro. Yeah. It's funny, too, because it's like the whole holier than thou, high and mighty, But like it says in the Bible, what is it? He who was without sin, right? It's the same thing. It's like, bro, man, we all... And that, again, that's what makes us human. We all have something that we bring, good and not necessarily so good. One of the things along those lines, I want to just kind of make a quick point. I don't believe in weakness. I believe in areas of improvement. Like I remember one interview I had one time. Guy was like, "Oh, give me 5 of your, strengths and 5 of your weaknesses, or something like that." And I was like, and I told him, I'm like, I'll give you 5 of my strengths. I said, but I'll give you 5 areas of improvement. But I don't believe I have any weakness. But can I improve and do better in some regards? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there will be some regards where I will probably never be top tier in regards to how I perform or that aspect of me. But I'm gonna give it my best. But a weakness, nah. Weak is like a old creaky bridge, or weak is like tea that a tea bag that was steeped way too many times, right? That's weak. I don't think that people are weak. I think people, and that's the thing.
Almost sounds like a trick question.
Well, yeah, bro. I was just like, nah, man. Yeah. But I like to think that we are all inherently good for the most part. At least we start out that way. But like you said before, bro, the
I think
whole
it's within
trauma,
all of us.
Yeah, bro. Yeah. But it's like you said, the trauma, bro, and stuff, these are the things that kind of mold us and shape us. But at the same time, again, what's your perspective, right? And how do you deal with these things? Are you going to let these things change you from being that, that person that you were that is inherently good? Or are you going to use them to basically refine and make yourself even, better?
Yeah, bro. So like we've been talking kind of how you would potentially handle situations, right? But I can think of like an interaction where I was a manager at the time and I had there was 7 people, we had a couple of people were leads and people were clerks or whatever. And had one situation with somebody who was really hard worker, but did not have the social like skills to be able to talk to people, right?
Been there in tech.
Bro, and they're looking around, right? And if people aren't performing at the high level that they were performing, they were the kind of person that was like just nose down, always working, right? You know, like you're like, man, I'm glad to have this person on my team, right? Like, I don't have to worry, they're always busy. But if they saw someone and maybe they were talking to someone for a minute, like a coworker, they would take it so personal and get so worked up. I mean, just so worked up about it, right? So their interactions with fellow coworkers was just horrible, and their interactions with other employees. So they were getting a lot done. Mm-hmm. And this person didn't understand like why they weren't getting promoted because they were the hardest worker. I get the most done. Yep. And honestly, man, when I was young, like I didn't have as many issues, the same issues with interactions with people, but I didn't understand sometimes why I wasn't getting promoted. You know what I mean? Because it's like I get so much more done, you know, right. Or whatever, you know. There's all different things that go into that. But anyways, this was becoming a big issue. And because I was the manager of the department, it was my job because it was becoming like a major issue.
To put game down.
People were talking to me like, hey, you know, I can't deal with this. And I was like, okay. And man, it stressed me out because I had to like think about it, right? Because it was, you know, I had to sit down with this person. And I hadn't had a ton of experience with this at the time, you know. And so I literally thought about it overnight. Like I really put like a lot of intention into it.
Way to go, man.
And so I approached it from an aspect of, I started out the conversation with like saying everything that he did well. Mm-hmm. I said, man, you are literally the hardest worker. You know, I said, if I was going to go into battle, I'd want you right there, like fighting, you know what I mean?
Word, I hear that.
So like, I gave him, you know, and it was genuine. Like
bro.
It was no lip surface because I won't do that.
Nah, bro. Because that's not even the type of cats that we are, man.
Yeah,
we're
and
not
that's
fake.
The thing. Yeah, people can tell when they're being put on.
Facts.
You know what I mean?
Facts.
For the most part, people can tell when they're being put on.
Yep.
And if they're okay with being put on, it probably means they're in a lot of trouble and they're just trying to get out of that situation in any way possible. You know what I mean?
Indeed, true.
So anyways, yeah, just real genuine. And then I said, you know what? But these are the few areas that you could work on. So once again, not weaknesses, areas that could be improved.
Indeed.
And I told him, it's like, man, this is the only thing. Like you would be getting promoted like this. It's just the being able to talk to people because a lot of management is working with people. You got to have people skills.
Dude,
and
it's everything.
Bro, and seriously, after that, things really changed. I mean, you know, there was still some of those conflicts, but man, like from then on, it really changed. And he even got promoted into a position above that. And I think ultimately, like some other things might have happened, you know, that was after I had left the department.
Yeah.
But I mean, that situation in itself, you know, that was definitely, I mean, it was like, I mean, he was ready to go off on me. He was just waiting for me to criticize something. He was waiting for it, right?
Dude, I know exactly what you mean.
I opened the conversation by being genuine and saying all the things he does well. And dude, it was just like,
yeah, you de-escalated it. But the thing about it is that it's like, again, you appeal to that innate good that a person has. Mm-hmm. Not in a way where you're trying to be manipulative. You just recognize like, this is generally the way things should flow anyway.
Yeah.
So let's try and keep it there. You know, and the other person is probably in a position where, again, I mean, regardless of how people want to look at it, there's a little bit of hurt on their end.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why he's puffed up because, and I get it, you know, it's like, you know how it sucks when you're the one that it's a team of 10 people and you feel like you're doing 9 people's work, you know, or even if you feel like you're doing 6 people's work and everyone else is riding your coattails, that's a bad way to feel because and it's almost like being punished for having a good work ethic.
I know.
Right?
And then people get used to it and you set that bar.
You do.
And then
set
people
that bar,
expect
bro.
that from you all the time. And then everybody kind of, and then it just perpetuates into getting worse and worse and stuff. So,
but then like you said though, bro, when you interject, you know, the true, you know, genuine humanity there, you know, again, along the lines of it's not what you do, how you do it. You know what I'm saying? A little bit of practicality, a little bit of kindness, you know, like anyone would generally respond to.
Yeah. It's
amazing what you can get from that. It really is. Oh, I was just thinking about this analogy as we were talking about differences. I mean, and you just kind of said about talking about the situation with the person at your job, you know, who, you know, you like, listen, if we were in battle, I'd love to have you there, you know, hold on. Yeah, you need people like that. But even if you're a platoon leader, same thing. everybody plays a part. You got your infantry guys, you got your guys that are, manning your, your heavy armament, you got your guys that are scouting, you got your guys that are, the tactician. I mean, everybody plays a part. And the thing about that I love in the analogy of the military situation is we don't have time to be like, well, no, bro, we got to get this done. We're talking about people's lives on the line. So let's get together, handle business, and then let's make a plan, and we're gonna execute, and we're gonna do, and it's everybody plays their part the way they should. This should go off flawlessly. Yeah. So I mean, I think that's an opportunity because it's easy for people to get all caught up in differences, but in a case like that, you don't have time for that. Like, bro, do you, like you said, do you want to live or no? If you want to live, then these are the things we have to do, and everybody has to play their part. This dude up here might not be able to, aim as well as you, but he can do distraction fire to keep people off, the guys who are trying to move to, the better vantage points. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
But, it's important for everybody, again, to understand and appreciate differences. That's so optimal. Everybody's appreciating people's differences. Because everybody plays a point. That's a situation where you're hoping for differences.
Yeah, bro. And like what you're saying right there too, like in a military situation, I think when you approach somebody, maybe in a work situation where it's just like, no, we just have to get this job done.
Fact.
This is just what you have to do. It's not necessarily me telling you to do it or whatever. It's just, this is what you have to do to get the job done.
Bro, ain't that the truth,
So
man?
you can approach somebody maybe with that mirror kind of just like, like, hey, I'm not here. I'm not casting judgment, but I'm like, here, I'm ready to hear you. You can do that. But sometimes, man, like people, they already know, like some people like are so clever and this is where I think it kind of maybe gets into like misery loves company sometimes, or maybe someone's just on one or you're sus to them, they don't like you for whatever reason. But you could do that. You could be approaching them objectively. You could be doing everything like, man, and this person is still throwing stuff at you. And that's where I think you got to be a man or you person. You got to step up and own it and be like, hey,
well, we're
you know
men,
what?
so,
Yeah, we're men. Yeah, exactly. So I'm talking from our perspective.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's all good.
But what I'm saying then at that point, it'd be like, okay, well, I'm just going to be real with you and genuine because I'm not going to pander to you. I'm not going to pretend to be your buddy.
Bro.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because then you're almost coddling them.
Plus, they know it, right? And they're not going to respect you. So so not only are they sus of you, but now they don't respect you because you seem weak because you're coming at them like, well, you know what I mean?
Yeah, bro.
So if you made the decision to go talk to somebody, then you kind of have to. You're at this point, you got to kind of fall through. So if you just own it and be like, hey, I can tell like we're having a hard time right here, communicating, but we just got to get these things done. So what can we do despite our differences to get there? And if you can just be real and own it like that, then, I mean, if they can't respect that, then it's kind of out of your hands at that point. You've done everything you can.
Exactly. Because, I mean, any situation, people have to be accountable and recognize what part they play. What are you contributing to whatever this situation or scenario may be? You have to understand that. And differences are no different. Especially when in dealing with or recognizing how you handle them. It's funny. I mean, just to speak to your point, again, at work. I tell people all the time, I'm not here to make friends. I can be cool with whoever's cool with me. But I come here because they pay me.
Yeah.
I'm not here because I'm, like how many people can I slap fives with today? I mean, if you want to do that, cool. But we got to get work done. Everybody's here to get paid. If we're beefing all the time, how much work are we getting done? Especially if it's something where it's almost like a hand to mouth. You produce, you get my money. Why wouldn't we work together? Let's get this money.
Yeah.
It's real simple math.
Yeah. And I think it's a lot of times it's misplaced energy. Whatever's causing that interaction that's negative probably has maybe nothing to do with what is just happened at that moment. It's more like what happened the day before, an hour before, or in your whole life.
Indeed. Yeah. You just can't, at least put that aside or you haven't buried the hatchet or you haven't even put it, it's like recognizing this is not the place for that thing. Or how can you deal with it constructively? If you have people that you feel you can confide in, do it in a way that's constructive and productive. If not, you're just causing issues, man. It's just who needs that? We're already at work. So we're like, why y'all beefing? We're at work. A lot of people don't want to be. You want to be at home on the couch. You want to be riding your surfboard. You want to be biking. Cool. Let's get this done, and we can make that possible. We get paid. We get to work. Why? Let's in unison take care of this thing. Get it done. You know what I'm saying? It's real simple. Don't create and make it into more than it needs to be.
Yeah, man. Yeah, realizing that you have at least some choice in situations to make it, better or worse. You know what I mean?
Indeed.
Some things are just not going to be fun, and man,
That's
I
life,
think you just
bro.
say that. You just say that. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of
life.
like a Zen thing, right? Like instead of being like, oh, it's a rainy day, man. I can't do nothing. You just be like, it's raining today.
Yeah.
Tomorrow it probably won't. Looks like it's going to be sunny tomorrow. It's just like, so yeah. But I think too, man, you got to choose your battles, right? Because I think sometimes, like you're saying, like people are trying to bait you sometimes, especially nowadays. I think it's really easy to enter into like argumentative conversations, if you're around just the general public or, like where I work, there's over 100 people that work there. So I'm around a lot of different coworkers throughout the day. You know what I mean? So it's not just like 5 people. No. So it's like all different personalities. And, I'll be walking by and hear a certain conversation and I might not even be part of it at that point. So really it's not on me to step in and say anything.
Indeed.
And really it's just like, you know what, man, if I step in and say something, I'm at work, I'm not really going to be able to dive into more the backstory or what they're really thinking. So we might leave that conversation with a total misunderstanding. You know what I mean? I was like, there's no reason, like, I don't have to say something right now. So like, do you have to say something in all situations? Like someone could be acting crazy and saying something you don't agree with. But bro, if you're just sitting there eating your sandwich and they're not going to push a button that's going to blow up the world, then who cares?
Bro, exactly. Look.
They're not hurting or hating nobody.
Bro, it's just like
just having an opinion.
Another old school adage, bro. Sometimes we just need to mind your business.
Seriously. Yeah.
It's really, it might, it might be hard for you to, or the argument police might be like, hey, but so you just got to mind your business sometimes, And then the thing about it too, to speak to one of the points you made, you mind your business, and then later you may realize that you did in fact come in on part of the conversation where you were able to take it out of context and then blow it up into something that was was not what you thought it was, because then later the clarification comes along. You're like, oh, had I jumped in, who knows what could have happened, but I opted to mind my business that day, and then everything just kind of leveled out, but you didn't give it an opportunity to because you weren't minding your business.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. Like I feel really comfortable too, just like being honest with people in social situations where most people would be like, dude, that'd be so awkward if you just say that, you know what I mean? But I'm like, no, that's real.
Sometimes a point has to be made, man.
Yeah. And
sometimes, go ahead.
Yeah. And I've had a friend say, well, he's like, it's easy for you. You're a big dude. You're 6'3",
Lord.
And I was like, man, it doesn't mean you can't stand up for yourself.
Bro, it doesn't matter how tall. It's what matters is how you think and what's in your heart.
You got to own it.
What matters is what's inside you.
Yeah.
In any situation. I mean, and it speaks to so many different things. So yeah, I mean, yeah, man. It's funny how, there's another opportunity dealing with differences. You see something about someone or someone's, I don't know, they're a bit of an abrasive person, right? And that's a difference that someone looks at and they don't exactly, they're not exactly happy about that. But they're too afraid to deal with it in a constructive or productive manner.
Yeah.
So then they sit back and harbor resentment. Nobody wins there.
Yeah. And the other thing you can celebrate too, it's like someone's different than you. You could be like, damn, I don't have to believe the same thing they believe. I don't have to fall in behind them. You know what I mean? Like we still have some freedoms, and enjoy the freedoms that we do have. I feel like people are always trying to tell you who you are and tell you what your opinion should be.
You gotta love that one.
But that's if you're gonna buy that, then okay. But so I really just think, man, being real and genuine with people.
Facts.
Because even if it's not at that moment, like I've had situations like that where someone approached me and they're baiting me, right? And they're like thinking I'm going to get all crazy. And then I'm just professional with them. But at the same time, I'm like, you know what? I can tell you're coming at me a certain way. So I'm going to be professional with you, but I'm not going to give you any more of my time than I have to. I'm not going to make it passive aggressive, like say something and then walk away, or
that's just as bad.
Not look at you in the eye when you're talking to me. I'm not going to do nothing to that because that's just as bad. I mean,
you got to keep it 1,000, bro. It is weak. You got to keep it 1,000, man. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You don't got to be petty, but you don't got to be, you don't got to walk away with your tail tucked between your legs either, man. I mean, again, there goes that balance.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then at the same time, though, man, you know, when you're like that, people, what is it? You ain't gonna like me, but you're gonna respect me type of situation.
And it might not be right away, but the next day, man,
facts.
That person might not talk crazy to you anymore. Maybe you aren't going to have a friendship, but they're not going to waste their time baiting you anymore because you were a real person and you owned it.
Yeah, and you gave them some time to think about what might have been going on with them that day, or just in general. Like, man, well, maybe I need to step my game up in this regard, right? Bro. So
seriously, and that to me, if you can be aware of that in the just going into any social situations, man, because I can think of a few situations where people got so under my skin, and they knew it. They knew it at that moment.
Me too.
Dude, and I saw that little Grinch grin on their face.
Indeed,
because, dude, some people, they like, oh, I know how to get under your skin.
Yeah.
And then once you, if you react a certain way, because like maybe at that moment you don't have the emotional intelligence to deal with this person that's just being weird or whatever.
Right.
And they get under your skin for a minute, and then you've somewhat like revealed something to them, right? So then you're even more upset, right? And then this person kind of will continue to potentially mess with you.
They see a vulnerability.
Yeah.
It's the same thing that made it when we were kids, where it's always the dude who cries the most when we clown them that we're going to clown the most. Right?
Oh, I mean,
it's just kind of how it is. But if you throw it back, you know what I'm saying? And you're like, all right, you know, even if you're like, all right, you know, your jokes are funny in your mom, but, you know, I mean, I still put up a bit of a fight, man. Or I didn't just, you know, take it, you know, without having any type of rebuttal, man. It's like, you know, you clown all you want. You're pretty good at clowning, but, you know, I'm not going to just sit here and let you talk a bunch of stuff about it. It's just not how it's going to go down.
Yeah, bro.
So
I had a friend like that, man. He was the smallest dude, right?
Yeah.
He was the smallest. Like, you would think like he was that guy that people were going to pick on. But at some point, like,
never judge a book by its cover.
Whatever it was just innate to him to be a survivor and a fighter.
Facts.
And he fought back, bro. And like, he seriously, bro, he would, without hesitation, even more, because like I didn't really get approached. Like there was very few times where like people were trying to fight me because I was a pretty chill dude and I was like taller than most people. So between my chill demeanor and just being tall, kind of deflected a lot of that attention.
I already get it, bro.
You know what I mean? But he got it because he was smaller and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But bro, he would fight. And if anybody stepped to him, like trying to be like, you know, like I'm going to wield my power over you.
Right.
Dude, he was like that. He was there. He was ready for it. And so people respected him, bro. And then at some point, nobody messed with him, bro. And he was like, dude, he might have been like 1.5 feet shorter than all of us when we were rolling around, but dude, he was just as big a dog as all of us.
Bro, he set the tone. He set the tone.
He said, no, that's not how it's going to be.
And then here you go. And then like you said earlier, it's like the whole, like you said, it's like exercising a muscle. That type of situation becomes a way of being, right? And then you recognize, and then you just, your presence, it comes through in your presence.
Yeah.
And
if you avoid situations, then that's going to be the muscle you exercise, and then you're going to get better at avoiding situations.
Indeed.
And it's, you know, so it's like really it's I think approaching situations objectively.
Indeed.
And you know, giving people a chance to talk.
Most definitely.
Then they're going to be more able to listen to your point of views. But also always having that insight that there's always going to be those people that are just, they're always going to be trolling. They're always going to be, but you know what?
Comments.
you can break through even with those people, because it's like what you say, like someone throws hurdles an insult at you. I think I tried to quote this in another episode, but it's like someone tries to hurdle an insult on you, right? And if you react to it, it's like, you know, them drop into the bucket and you hear that drop hit, right? Because it's like, oh, that hit, right? I'm reacting to that. But if someone comes at you and they drop something and you emotionally handle it right, or you don't bait or you don't bite, then it's just like you never hear it drop. It just keeps, and then they're just like, you know what I mean? Then you're being the mirror right there, because just by being the bigger person in a situation, you know, because you can come out crazy and back to them and it could feel justified, but
yeah, exactly.
You're giving them exactly what they want most times.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's a situation, and bringing, and bringing this to a bit of a close, man, is like, there's levels of dealing with differences. But the thing about it is none of them has to be negative. I think that's really the key. None of them has to be negative. You can live, accept, appreciate, be aware of differences, because it's a reality, even amongst your own family. There's people I share blood with that I have very strong disagreement and differences with, but I don't love them any less. This is what I get people. What makes you think you're going to meet somebody on the street that you're going to totally, you may meet someone like that, but the probability of meeting people who have differences, you know, as opposed to, you know, in regards to you as a person, it's really high.
Dude, it's so high. I don't think people want to, I don't think people want to acknowledge that as much right now. People aren't into nuance or like subtlety. Subtlety and nuance, you know what I mean? And to say that doesn't exist, you know, and so
there needs to be more cultivation of that in our society these days, man.
Yeah.
You know, different doesn't have to be bad. It just means different in some cases. Sometimes it means, it can mean a multitude of things, but it doesn't always have to have a negative connotation. And in dealing with them, and like I said, you can always try to figure out a way to flip any aspect of a difference to a positive of anything, but in this case, differences. That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
So,
no doubt,
man, dude, this has been dope, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's just, and I got hyped up a couple times, man, but you know, it's just, I love stuff like this, man. It's just the talks that we have, man. It's always just the energy and everything, man. And we're hoping that y'all get the same thing from it, man. Let us know in the comments, man. We just appreciate y'all, man. Because like my man Luke was saying earlier, without y'all, we wouldn't be, man.
Yeah, nobody's
be,
watching these videos.
Yeah,
who would have any reason to post them. So,
but we're you know, we're just trying to be genuine, man, and just be ourselves, man, and just, you know, interject an angle that maybe a lot of people aren't these days, man. We're not trying to look for people to have debates and disagreements with. We're just out here trying to connect, man, and just be good humans. You know, we're two, like I said, fathers, you know, brothers, you know what I'm saying, skateboarders, man, and just people, man, just navigating everything in life, man. You know what I'm saying?
There's plenty of stuff to argue about, so we're trying to be that good news, because there's good news out there too. There's good news.
Dude,
and just real news.
Real news. Exactly, bro.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. So, bro, thank you, bro. I mean, for real, thank you, man. That was just superb point.
Thank you. Yeah, and hopefully this episode just encourages you to be genuine in those difficult situations with people, because I mean, really, you can't go wrong with you being genuine. I mean, take a few seconds, you know?
Indeed. And recognize, like we said, man, with the title, man, differences, I mean, you know, it's really an opportunity. You know what I'm saying? It's an opportunity. Or like he said, take a second, step back and objectively look at the situation and regarding any difference and figure out the most positive way to approach it, even if it means just to let it ride.
Yeah, and not attaching too much to the results and doing it more as learning, right? Because man, you attach to those negative things, man. Bro, the attachment thing, man. We got to have a whole conversation about attachment,
and we will too. So we're gonna have to cover that one, bro.
But yeah, be careful what you attach to.
Indeed, yeah. Anyway, man, look, thanks, y'all.
Yeah,
you know,
thank
for
you.
real, and thanks, Luke, man. You know,
thanks, T.
Yeah, it's all good. Peace, y'all.
Peace.